to the 9/11 War Room, a weekly roundtable discussion that takes place every Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Tune in at 911warroom.com.
Welcome to the 9/11 War Room. My name is Gene.
My name is Sandra. Today's Sunday, June the 7th, episode 238. Hope everyone's having a nice, warm weekend.
Yep. And I didn't even get the title screen up, so we're just going to go with it. All right. Here we go. Top news stories. One from Spectrum News. Judge orders deposition over claims city had no post 9/11 air quality documents. 2 employees from the city's Department of Environmental Protection will be forced to explain why they said the agency had no documents related to its well-established role in investigating air quality in Lower Manhattan after September 11th terrorist attacks, according to a decision New York 1 obtained from New York Supreme Court Justice James Klein. After the lawyers seeking the records sued the DEP, a city attorney said the agency, in fact, had 68 boxes of relevant files amounting to hundreds of thousands of records. So a couple people are going to have to give some depositions to why they said those things when there were files. So we'll hear more about that in ongoing
Another
saga.
version of why did you lie?
I didn't do it. I didn't do nothing.
I don't know.
The next one, New York City Council Speaker Julie Menin requests funds for 9/11 Ground Zero air quality investigation. Council Speaker Julie Menin and 9/11 activist John Field didn't have any problem breathing the air as they strolled into the area of Lower Manhattan on Tuesday, but they did in the weeks and months following the attack. But we were told again that the air is safe to breathe. We now know that was not true, Menin said. Menin, whose family lived in the area, lost her mother to 9/11 related cancer. John Field, a demolition supervisor at Ground Zero, has watched as thousands have died in 9/11 related diseases. They both want $4.5 million in budget funds for an investigation when the city actually knew the air was toxic.
Yeah, and John Field is someone who at one point appeared to be in our camp. He visited, I don't know what office it was anymore, but now
Ron Johnson.
Was it Ron Johnson?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But now apparently not so much anymore. He doesn't want to be associated with us.
Yeah. Next one, New York City's 9/11 Memorial fundraises to educate youth with $25 million match from Mike Bloomberg. It says here the 9/11 Memorial and Museum has launched a $75 million fundraising campaign as the nonprofit tries to educate the millions of U.S. youth who don't remember the terror attacks on their upcoming 25th anniversary. Propaganda. Excuse me. Stuck in my throat there. Boosting the Never Forget Fund's latest appeal announced Wednesday is Mike Bloomberg, the stellar philanthropist that we all know him to be. That's sarcasm. The former New York City mayor who has rallied hundreds of millions of dollars towards the 9/11 Memorial and Museum as its chair pledged to match the next $25 million in donations through his Bloomberg philanthropies. Organizers already secured the first $25 million through unspecified initial gifts. And I know Mike with TAP was talking about some things, and other people have, we need to get to the curriculum of what these kids are learning. I've approached David Chandler because he's part of the National Association of Physics Teachers. I knocked on the door of that organization. They said they would take his physics lab while building 7 into account, just present it. And I can't get David to present it to them. So I'm like trying everything I can as not a physics teacher to get them to accept this as part of their curriculum.
Yeah, and just basically the bottom line of this story is that they feel that those who were born after 9/11 don't know enough about what happened that day, and they don't want the entry price, which I think is $26, to be a barrier for them to be able to attend the museum and get educated on what really happened that day. So they're making sure that the next generation gets informed on the events, obviously in the official version. And they're making it available for free if you're under 18.
It's funny, real quick side shoot. Talking to my son on one of his gaming servers, I went and visited him and his friends, and my name was 9/11 was an inside job on the game, and they all kind of laughed. And then my son's friend said, "Well, doesn't everybody know that now?" And these are the young Gen Zs, so I think they already know, but that's why this is happening, because they need to re-educate these kids to understand truly what happened.
Yeah, they either know what happened or they're just completely ignorant. They have no clue what happened.
Next news story. This keeps locking up on my screen, so I open up another browser. Hopefully it'll play. A new PSA features people who lost family members on 9/11. Beth Hillman, CEO of the 9/11 Memorial and Museums, as the CEO, discusses the new PSA being released to mark the 25th anniversary of September 11th, 2001.
I didn't see the planes.
Didn't search the rubble.
I'll get to say goodbye. I wasn't there.
But I lived the legacy of people who were.
The ones who never finished their shifts and stayed up.
Stayed kind, stayed strong.
I wasn't there, but I'll never forget.
Because their legacy made us who we are today.
And it's up to us to continue for tomorrow.
And I think it's a noble PSA. I just wish they would tell us the whole story and get to all the evidence from that day, because as Robert Griffin, psychologist, said, not getting to the truth dishonors the value of the lives lost that day. And I think what we're doing is just trying to get answers for what happened, and in no way, no disrespect towards anybody, but we would also like to see justice for these people. So that's all we have at corporate level news. Let me knock down a level into 9/11 or alternate media. 9/11 news. Theo Vaughn hosted John Kiriakou. I get mixed feelings on John, and I'm just going to play these couple clips why I think that, and I think you'll see why. First clip is with Theo Vaughn, and John Kiriakou says he took a lot of poop about conspiracies because he doesn't believe in them. Here we go.
Do you think there's a lot of like conspiracies about 9/11, right? And I'm sure you've had
I take a lot of shit about the conspiracies. Yeah.
You do?
I do. I take a lot of shit because I don't believe in them.
You don't?
No.
So from your experience, because you were there when it happened, you were in the CIA when it occurred, to where we are now, has your point of view changed at all since then to now?
My point of view actually has changed. So I don't think I deserve a lot of the criticism that I get. I'm going to start on July the 6th of 2001.
Okay.
So,
and I'm not familiar with the criticism either.
Okay, I'm glad. I'll explain it to you then. Because I get all the time, the Jews did it, the Saudis did it, literally the space aliens did it, the Israeli government did it, the Bush family did it. It's like, come on, people. Nanothermite paint. There's no such thing as nanothermite paint. That they painted in 1972 to make the buildings blow up. Come on, you guys.
That to me sounds very, that sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Almost all the hijackers, was it 16 or 17 of the hijackers came from Saudi Arabia,
right?
And we know that the Saudi ambassador to the United States at the time, Prince Bandar bin Sultan Al Saud, his wife transferred $50,000 from her personal bank account to the hijackers. What are we supposed to make of that?
Yeah, sometimes you got to get your girl to Venmo if you got it. You know what I'm saying?
Seriously, the only time I ever saw George Tenet, it was the CIA director at the time, the only time I ever saw George completely lose his shit was in a meeting with Prince Bandar. He said, if we don't start getting help from the Saudi government on this case, we're going to start killing people, a lot of people, and some of them are going to be named Al Saud. I go out to Pakistan as the chief of counterterrorism operations there in January of 2002. So it's still fresh. We're bombing Tora Bora. All these Al-Qaeda people are trying to get out of Afghanistan, cross into Pakistan, and my job was then to catch them when they came into Pakistan.
We're bombing what? We're bombing which country?
Afghanistan.
We're bombing Afghanistan, right? But why were we looking for Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan?
That's where they were living, all of them. They launched 9/11 from Afghanistan.
Got it.
You think I can do that?
They launched 9/11 from Afghanistan. The whole thing was just coordinated from Afghanistan. Yeah. This is where it bothers me because John Kiriakou basically talks past any evidence, the controlled demolition of the Twin Towers. He was there at the DC event. He was at the VIP lunch. Many people talked to him. I didn't get a great vibe off of him. And then we later on hear that John Kiriakou wasn't really interested in the event. He just kind of got the tickets for free or something.
Something about he needed the money, and that he wouldn't refuse any money. He did spend some years in jail as a whistleblower, and didn't have an easy time coming back or out. So I guess he just accepts all the gigs and says what he has to say.
And he seems to be fully supportive of Al-Qaeda did it. They flew the planes into the towers, and that's what brought the towers down. And any controlled demolition evidence, he just doesn't have time for it. Nanothermite in 1972.
Yeah.
He's playing a game.
Why was he?
Go ahead, Josh.
That's right, actually.
Oh.
It was me, actually. I was just going to say, why was he even part of that conference? Like, why was he invited to be part of that conference? What was he
I
supposed
think
to
because he had said, well, he was questioning. I mean, as like
He was on the Tucker 9/11 files.
Yeah, and he
Well,
questioned
that-
the
which
intelligence
is also
aspect.
problematic.
Yeah.
Yeah, he questioned the intelligence. We thought that he was much more on board than it turned out to be, but by then it was too late.
Yeah.
But from the things that he said, and then we figured if he's not on board and we approach him for this conference, which clearly is about 9/11 truth, he would then raise his hand and say, well, no, I'm not really into that part of it,
Right.
Never said anything. And as far as we knew, he was on board.
Let's go to Josh, and we'll continue to roll on.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
On Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, Covert Action Magazine is having an event with John Kiriakou, where they're trying to help him try to get a presidential pardon. I believe it's $10 a ticket. So I think I'll sign up for it. And then a few months ago, Covert Action Magazine also had a conversation with John Kiriakou. And regarding 9/11, he said he was interested in Senator Johnson investigating the Saudi and Israeli connections to 9/11. And I had forwarded to him, I wrote a blog post on Abu Zubaydah. He was very complimentary of it. And then I forwarded him my article on the Canistaro Declaration. I did not get a response from him regarding that.
If his only avenue of coming in is that avenue, sorry to use the word twice, but then so be it. And Josh, you're the guy to do it. So continue to put pressure on him, and I appreciate that.
Are you going to try to meet him face to face at that event?
I believe it's online on Tuesday. So I think I'll sign up for it.
Okay.
I don't know if there'll be an opportunity to talk to him or not.
Yeah, if you get some Q&A or not.
Sounds
But
interesting.
if you do, let him know that nobody thinks that nanothermite was painted on the towers in 1972.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
And nobody thinks space aliens were involved.
Yeah.
And literally space aliens. No, never heard that one.
It's like he threw that in just to completely delegitimize everything else.
Yeah.
I believe in Santa Claus, but not the flying reindeer. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was Theo Vaughn and John Kiriakou. I'll put those links in the show notes for you guys if you want to check out the whole thing. The next one was Jimmy Dore was on Tucker Carlson. And while they didn't get into 9/11, I think Jimmy Dore tried. He wet the whistle there a few times very early in the 4-minute mark. He was already out of a almost 2-hour interview. And I just want to play a few of the clips. The first one is about it all started with 9/11. Here we go.
It all started with 9/11. They had the Patriot Act already written before 9/11, right? So they as Edward Snowden revealed that, they're collecting every text, every phone call, every email you make anyway. So we live in and then it's just getting worse. Thomas Massey, I mean, a guy who won almost unanimously, and then his positions didn't change, but then all of a sudden he loses and loses big, right? He lost by 10 points. So, and it was all propaganda and lies. And who knows if they also fiddled with the vote? Why would you put that past them? Why? Of course they would. The people who slaughter people for profit, which is what been the last 25 years since 9/11, just slaughtering people for profit. They wouldn't rig an election? Right? Of course they would.
Of course.
Yeah. And
if it's important enough to murder people, it's important enough to take over electronic voting machines, of course. And by the way, that's the one thing you're not allowed to say.
You're not. Well,
Right. So that's always a tip.
Of course, those people would rig elections. I mean, the people who did Building 7 wouldn't rig an election.
No, it's people risk their lives to rob liquor stores. So, right, a lot's at stake.
That's interesting because Tucker didn't deny what Jimmy threw out there, that they would slaughter people for profit, specifically naming 9/11. So hats off to Jimmy Dore for going there. And the last one, maybe that was it. Maybe I just went right through all of them. I did that one. Did I do this one?
The people who did Building 7 wouldn't rig an election.
No.
Oh, yeah, I did. So that was all of it between them. Tucker didn't bite on that and talk about 9/11 anymore with Jimmy Dore. But what's fantastic, we know that Jimmy Dore
is going to be the special guest on the Saturday of the Turning the Tide event, the Saturday closer, which is, I was watching that clip and I'm thinking if all goes well, those two will be on that ticket. We have not approached Tucker yet, but considering that he was willing to join last year, even if only virtually, and only had to cancel because of Charlie Kirk, I think there's a good chance. So,
on that note, it's 5:20. Let's just say a quick prayer for justice for 9/11. For those that don't realize what I'm doing here, it's real short. But every day at 5:20, the time that the Building 7 fell, I used it as an opportunity to say a quick prayer for justice. Normally my prayers are a lot longer, but in the essence of time and not to thump on anybody too hard, I just want to say a quick moment for that. So just join me real quick. Lord, just come to you right now. I thank you for this day. I thank you for these people. I thank you for everything that we've been doing, these doors that are opening, that we have no control over to any great degree, that these things are happening. I just pray that you would continue to guide our path. Give us the words to speak of authority in what we're doing, that we would see justice in our lifetime. I ask this in your name. Amen. Thanks. Let's motor through and then we'll open up the table. I'm almost done. These are just some quick highlights off of X, things that I've noticed in the past week. One, we were just talking about Thomas Massie, loosely related to 9/11. But on June 8th, which is tomorrow, he'll speak on the floor of the House to honor and memorialize the brave crew of the USS Liberty who died and were wounded in an unprovoked attack by Israel on June 8th, 1967. Catch my speech on C-SPAN. He's got 7 months left, and the gloves are off. And I could only hope that September 11th, he'll also say something, and should be very interesting. I also have it in my cards to ask him to be a presenter or a speaker at the event, but we'll see how that works out. So that's that with Thomas Massie. I wanted to share that later. He does home off-grid stuff too, which is really cool. And some people are questioning Ian Carroll being part of the event because he can say some things that might come off very anti-Semitic, but I think it's just America first, not about supporting foreign governments or foreign militaries being part of our military. I think it gets sticky, but hats off to Ian Carroll for showing support for Thomas Massie. He's under attack by all enemies, foreign and domestic. There is the Iranian group that's putting out these Lego videos that are just fantastic as far as propaganda, battling what the CIA and the United States is doing in these wars. This was a really short, just 10-second video, and you could see false flag operations. Couple pictures. It looks like the picture of the Twin Towers, looks like a picture of a ship that looks like the USS Liberty, and looks like a Lego guy. It looks like Charlie Kirk, and that's all. False flag operations. And who's next? Way to go for the Iranians on their Lego propaganda. Ridiculous, but yeah, there it is. Next news story Matt Campbell, who lost his brother Jeff Campbell, put out this video. And I'm so thankful that he did, because a lot of us get lost. We hear about this new inquest in the UK, but we don't really understand what that inquest is. And if you don't mind, I'm just going to play this in its entirety, 3 minutes. This is what Matt Campbell's up to and what he's doing and what the inquest is all about.
At 8:46 that morning, Jeff's tower was hit about 15 stories below. So he was above the impact point. And as we know, no one above the impact point of the North Tower survived. Because my brother essentially died an unnatural and violent death, by law in the UK, if they were killed abroad and the remains were repatriated, by law, they have to have what's called an inquest. Essentially an investigation into who, where, when, and essentially how did that person come about their death. I think no more than 2 or 3 minutes was spent on my brother's life and death. There was no investigation whatsoever into what killed my brother, and certainly no real attempt, I think, to establish the cause of death for any of the other victims either. But I hadn't really considered the nature of the collapse of the Twin Towers, let alone Building 7. I think that only really came onto my radar probably 2006, 2007. And I think what really caught my attention was the NIST, that's the National Institute of Standards and Technology's admission, because I was basically forced to admit it by a high school physics teacher called David Chandler, who challenged them at a draft meeting of their final report. Challenged them that, the building fell at free fall acceleration for at least 2.25 seconds. And that frankly it's impossible. And I started thinking, okay, I know there's a mechanism to try and get my brother's inquest reopened, and you essentially have to petition the Attorney General for England and Wales, showing, for example, insufficiency of inquiry, but also if there's any new evidence. And so we sat and waited for a response from the Attorney General. Typically, they normally get back to you in sort of 4 to 6 months. They took 22 months eventually before they actually got back to us with initial denial. Started the process for judicial review. We applied to the courts. I'd say 50% of their arguments were basically around this peculiar privilege that the Attorney General has, which is almost regal in nature, which is they're immune to judicial review. Thankfully, towards the end of last year, so in 2025, the Supreme Court granted our appeal hearing. That's now been scheduled for October the 14th and 15th of 2026, where we're hoping that the Supreme Court will look at this unresolved issue, really, of, should the Attorney General be above the law? I think it's important to investigate all aspects of 9/11 because of where it's led us, and I guess ultimately learn from it. I guess that's the whole point, isn't it?
So hats off to Matt. He needs a lot of money coming up, so they've reached out to some people, and one of them that said, yes, I will support you. You guys, some of you may have heard about, and I'm also going to play this in its entirety too, so hopefully you guys recognize this face. It says, thank you, Roger Waters, one of the founders of Pink Floyd, has expressed his support and donated a large amount of money and put out this PSA. It's about 5 minutes long. I'm just going to play it also in its entirety. Here we go.
Okay, here we go. I'm looking at a crowdfunder thing. All right, they're trying to raise some money. I've already given these people a lot of money, by the way, or promised them a lot of money. The guy's name is Jeff Campbell. Oh no, sorry, I tell a lie. Our beloved son and brother, Jeff Campbell, was 31 years old. He was in the North Tower of the World Trade Center when it was blown up by personal persons unknown so far, because there's never been an investigation. Jeff Campbell. Well, his brother, Matt, has spent years fighting to find out what happened. Well, we all know what happened, but we need an official investigation into it. We needed it to become public. We have a chance to achieve that, and that is in England. It is being brought before the...
Sorry, folks. My screen is skipping. My computer's overheating. I'm just going to play it. This audio sounds good. The video is just skipping. So let me...
Supreme Court in England, whether or not Jeff's brother can reopen his inquest to find out why he was killed, because it was sort of dismissed back in 2001. All right. I know this is long-winded, but it's really important. Okay, what...
Well, that's not going so well.
actually happened on 9/11?
The rest of that in the show notes.
Who killed?
Just so thankful that Roger Waters is coming out of the 9/11 closet. He was on Glenn Greenewald, where he also spoke out about 9/11, and then caught himself and says, "Well, we won't go into 9/11," but he expressed his dismay at that. So hats off to Roger Waters. If you guys can donate as well to help him, crowdfunder.co.uk/p/9/11. I'll put that in the show notes. I got a hand up. I think that's Lou and then Sue. Lou and Sue. And then we'll get back into the news.
Yes. Thank you, Gene. Regarding the Iranian Lego videos, why did you say that's ridiculous?
Oh, because it's hilarious. The comedy that they're using. They're using.
But it's not subject. We don't want to ridicule it because we know it's accurate.
Oh, no. I don't mean ridiculous in that aspect. Ridiculous that they're making Lego videos.
He meant it positively. It's
Yeah.
like, the kids when they say something sick, but that's like a good thing.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. I there's a better word than ridiculous. I in my professional life, I went to a principal, my fourth to last principal in Jacksonville, Florida, as a guidance counselor, and I said, I believe that whatever we attend to reinforces what just preceded it. And she said, ridiculous. So I've had that word has been a real, bug in my psyche for years now. So never mind. Thank you.
Therapy on that one.
Yeah, semantics, but I need some therapy, right?
Yeah, it was that there was a meme put out a while ago that says we're fighting a multi-billion-dollar propaganda machine with memes, which
exactly. We are.
And when I would say that's ridiculous, but I guess I could use a better word than ridiculous. So thank you. I appreciate that.
It's laudatory.
Yes.
And propaganda is a loaded term too. I mean, propaganda is the opinion. We're truthers. We're creators. When lies are put out there, that's propaganda. But we know from Edward Bernays, Freud's nephew, who in 1927 published the book Propaganda, that it's highly effective. And we've been propagandized now, maybe since remember the Maine of 1898 in Havana Harbor, I think was a false flag, but certainly since 11/22/63.
That's another thing. Thomas Massey's trying to reintroduce the Smith-Mundt Act to prohibit the government from using propaganda on its citizens. It's a shame that we have to fight for that. But thank you, Lou. Let's go to Sue.
Yeah. So, Roger Waters.
Yes.
When you go to the crowdfunding, it lists each contribution or pledge, because at this point it's a pledge. You don't end up giving money until they reach their goal. That's the way crowdfunding works. And I don't see Roger Waters there, and I don't see any really large contributions there.
Well, he did say at the beginning of the video that he pledged it, and that, I mean, I guess
all of these are pledges.
Well,
that's how crowdfunding works.
Yeah.
Didn't he say promised? Didn't he use the word
Or
promised?
promised.
Yeah.
Whichever.
Or he's going through a different route.
He might be going through a different route.
Or maybe he's waiting to see what the gap is and fill the gap at the end.
Probably.
That would
Yeah,
be
as I say that I think that's probably what it is, Susan. You know, but it is sad that the donations only trickled in, I guess. But I think he's going to backstop it.
well, it's really good news. Yeah, I've always been a fan.
Definitely. I've been to 3 concerts already.
Oh, I'm jealous.
All right, let's continue on. Thank you, Sue. Let's continue on. Some other things noticed on X. Trump about this meme or this statement to the White House. Basically, our poll is, this is a real picture too, a poster board. Our poll is bigger than the skyscraper.
Talking about the reflecting pool in front of the White House.
And which the length of the pool really has no
significance
correlation with the building's height. I don't know what he's just, again, one of these things he just puts out for whatever reason. And I wanted to raise eyebrows. I wanted to raise eyebrows and put something out that just was offensive to people, and it was basically making the pool blood red, and saying some things while Trump brags about his 2,030-foot reflecting pool beating the towers. Remember, the controlled demolition of the Twin Towers spilled the blood of nearly 3,000 Americans. That pool is filled with their blood. Trump promised to release the 9/11 files that we will find out who really knocked down the World Trade Center. And just keep poking the bear any way you can. That's all. A couple other news stories. Redacted reposted. World Trade Center towers didn't just fall. Their tops disappeared before the collapse. Basically, the top blocks, if you will, basically destroyed themselves before they could ever do this pile driver theory that NIST and Bezant support. So it's fantastic that Redacted, Clayton, and Natali Morris are still showing support. That was just posted June 3rd. Some other ones. Clayton Morris finally posted the flight paths were not that simple. The new study put out by the International Center for 9/11 Justice and Dr. Pierce Robinson on the flight paths looking a little bit anomalous in that if it was just a person flying the plane, Linus would fly straight into the towers. Didn't really make sense why places or these planes veered off and then suddenly made this makeup turn at the very end on all of the different approaches. And all right. Next news story, almost done. Chris Martenson, Dr. Chris Martenson, some of you know him. He spoke out well on the Charlie Kirk assassination attempt, the Trump assassination attempt, at a lot of scientific background analysis. And he just, little comment, reminds me of something, showing this some buildings. So while it's not overtly speaking, it's great to see these people with big accounts still getting people to notice about 9/11 and the controlled demolitions that day. This was a famous picture that's been put out. Tap's been using it lately. I posted it recently saying never forget when I can comment on anybody. Diligent Denizen, he mentions Charlie Kirk and some things, but I didn't want them. Don't ever forget 9/11. How can you forget 9/11? Representative Luna is talking about UAPs and all this stuff, but in her first speech with James Comer on the Federal Task Force for the Declassification of Secrets, she mentioned 9/11, but ever since then, she doesn't mention 9/11 too much. So I try to just poke the bear again, if you will, and put this out there. And lo and behold, somebody commented and said, WTF, bro, I was at that march. So this is fantastic because it's the first time I've ever seen a high-quality image of somebody from that exact march. Hopefully we'll connect with him more and get some other great pictures. But yeah, he was there. Pretty cool.
What year was that?
I wanted to say 2006.
Yeah,
early.
something like that.
And then that one I'm going to save for the end of the show, and that one too. So with that said, oh, I missed one. Richard Krishnick was on Boston 9/11 Truth. We weren't able to make that. Jane, if you want to give an update
Or Sue?
or that's what I meant.
Oh,
sorry. I'm looking at Jane thinking Sue. Go ahead, Sue.
anyway, the two white-haired old ladies. Easy to get us confused. Yeah, so he went on into a lot of geopolitics with the Ukraine. And you know, I kept trying to pull him back into linking it to 9/11, and I guess he did a pretty decent job of linking it, but it was still very interesting. He is very well informed, and you know, he's even though he's in my generation, I'm probably around the same age or maybe a little bit older, I'm not sure, but you know, he still goes to Nicaragua every year, just about every year for some community volunteer work for schools down there. So, you know, he's worldly, let's put it that way, very worldly. So yeah, I recommend checking it out. And we're not having a meeting this week, not a publicized Zoom meeting, just a regular local meeting this week. But the following week, we're going to have Fran Shore. And I think Marty Hopper's going to join her. And that's on the 18th. And the week after that, we're having Paul Delorius talking about, because he's beyond his research for Hawaii and his past work for 9/11 Truth, he's also a community organizer. And he does workshops on how to run groups and recognize infiltrators and how to deal with them and disruptors and what have you. So he's really quite good at that. And I think it's beneficial for anyone who's trying to hold a group together to pick his brains.
Nice. So the next one is...
If I could just follow up in my response, I did appreciate very much Richard Krusnick's broad spectrum and also his, you know, in terms of geopolitics. But one of the things that a specific thing in terms of what Iran is doing to help defend itself is that a lot of their military, I don't know the terms, whether it's missiles or possibly nuclear, I don't know, but that they're underground so that they're somehow protected and yet able to launch when necessary. So anyway, that was a little takeaway that I noticed. Thank you.
Sue.
Yeah, it's drones for the most part, and and you know, everybody's kind of like laughing because they're taking down U.S. military, you know, bombers that are worth like $1 million. It was $40,000 drones. And also the Iranian military is decentralized. So they're all over the place. So if, you know, one facility gets somehow bombed or whatever, well, they just regroup around and go to the others. So they made a mockery out of the highly expensive capabilities of the U.S. and doing it with mere basics, basically.
Yes, very, very well summarized. Thank you, Linda. Sorry, Sandra.
Okay. Yeah, I'm all confused. 1 second, Joseph and Craig. Sue, when was the next one? So not this Thursday or next Thursday, but
no, this Thursday we're just having our closed group meeting.
Yep.
The following Thursday is Fran Shore. That's the 18th.
Okay.
And the following Thursday, the week afterwards, is going to be Paul Delorius.
All right. Thank you. So 18th and 25th. Thank you so much. And now we'll get to the hands. Craig?
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to, it's an article a mainstream article came to my attention. In fact, it was Barbara Honegger that shared it with me. I'm sure she won't mind me saying that, about a plane that actually hit a light pole and knocked the light pole into a truck. And it's interesting because although I don't get the, you have to have a paid subscription to get New York Times. It's a New York Times article. Let me just hold on here.
Did you try removepaywall.com?
I've never heard of that. No, but I will now.
The New York Times is one of the few that might still give you a hard time, but usually it depends.
Yeah.
But if you can't access a story for that reason, you go to removepaywall.com, you put in the URL of the original, and it's going to pull it up for you.
Oh, okay. That sounds neat.
Yeah.
Anyway, apparently there was a this happened in New Jersey. Apparently, was landing in Newark, and I'm not sure how you get that low, but apparently there was turbulence and a lot of wind and stuff like that. So, but anyway, it's according to what I've got here in front of me, the plane sustained substantial damage, it says in quotes, including 3 punctures in the rear of the fuselage, one of which was nearly 4 feet long, and slash marks in the landing gear tire on the left side, and the truck had large holes in its windshield and a major puncture in the trailer. So it's just kind of interesting because the plane was, in this case, going a lot slower than the one on 9/11 was supposed to have been going, and yet it seems to have caused a lot of different damage, I guess, to both the plane and to the truck. And somehow on 9/11, we're supposed to believe that a plane traveling at so much faster than that, 530 miles per hour, could knock down 5 light poles without sustaining any damage at all and not being knocked off course at all. And then meanwhile, what we end up with is a car with a little 4-inch wide hole in the back seat. So it's just kind of interesting, real life, damage tends to happen more in real life than it does in 9/11, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I will put the link in the show notes because obviously I can't get this video to play for whatever reason. But this is New York Times article. Ooh, let me try this. No, it still doesn't want to play. But there it is. Pilot was warned jet was too low before it clipped the light pole. So I'll put that link in the show notes.
So, okay, thank you. That's good. I'll just mention too quickly, I would want to correct when Matt said the thing about NIST being forced to admit free fall. I always bring that up when people use that because, in fact, he didn't. No one forced NIST to do anything. In fact, you can't force NIST to do anything. If you could, then there wouldn't be a request for correction that was ignored by NIST. So I always think that needs to be pushed back on. Nobody forced NIST to admit free fall. NIST, for whatever reasons, they made the decision to concede that point for whatever reasons they had, and we can theorize about what those reasons might be, because they certainly don't feel the need to concede other points that have been made since then. So they did it for whatever their reasons are. But I think it's important for us as a movement to stop saying that we forced NIST to do something.
Well, they were publicly embarrassed, Craig. I think that's my guess as to their best reason. They had to acknowledge it because it happened publicly in a conference.
Yeah.
You think that you think that qualifies as forcing them to? No. So yeah. I mean, my experience watching the government react to things in 9/11 is generally that they just ignore us, no matter how blatant the point is that's being made or how or where it's being made. They just ignore us. So anyway, I think it's just a good idea to stay away from a word like that because it implies somehow that we have maybe some clout over them that I don't think in reality that we do have.
9/11 Truth Movement is not free from word grammar Nazis. So,
well, I'm probably as
Sandra
maybe
gets
maybe Sandra and I have that in common. Maybe we're both
all good.
What did you say that wasn't grammatically correct?
Well, they didn't technically force. Nobody forced NIST to do it.
Yeah, but that's not being a grammar Nazi.
Semantics.
Well, it's not just that they didn't technically force them; it's that they didn't force them at all. I think is more the point. Anyway, so the other thing I'll mention since I'm talking is the 9/11 and other deep state crimes teleconference. I'll just mention this. We're a little bit ahead of the meeting. It's not till the end, last Wednesday of the month, but just to preview people, I think Cheryl Curtis is going to be talking about. She's involved in a fight in her area in Tampa to stop a data center from being built, and so she's gotten very involved in that. And she's done some research into that whole issue, and those things are going in all over the country, and a lot of people are pushing back against them. So she's going to talk about that whole subject in our meeting, which will be the last Wednesday of June. There may be other things on the agenda, but that's I just thought that might be of interest to people.
Thank you. And apologies, I am cutting in and out. Sonny, I don't know if I've been cutting out since then. Hopefully it's been a little bit more stable.
To go to Joseph.
Yeah, I am going to.
It was my problem, not yours.
Oh, good. I got fans blowing everywhere trying to cool this thing down. It's overheating. But let's go to Joseph. Good to see you, Mr. Alaska.
Yeah, well, thank you. Actually, I was just going to comment on the drone situation. A couple of points, I suppose. My information is that the drones, even those that trail behind them a single, a glass fiber to control them so they can't be hacked, are about $20,000. Russia is faced now with Ukrainian drones that have facial recognition and are going after individual soldiers when they see the silhouette or whatever that satisfies their beginning of looking for a face to hit. The counteracting intercepting missiles cost almost a quarter of a cruise missile, because the necessary electronics and guidance in order to hit a drone are so complicated. They're costing some $500,000. So Iran has got us in a terrible spot thanks to Trump. However, when Trump is faced with the midterms, he will begin to burn America down, because he'd rather rule over the ashes than admit any defeat. This has been seen in the past. We can use him at that point to destroy NIST.
Interesting.
Just a thought, and to promote some to shroud the Epstein files. Don't forget, he's a terrible person. I don't mean aligning with him. I mean using him as a useful idiot.
Yeah. Yes.
Just a suggestion.
Good strategy to think about. Thank you for that. Let's go to Ross and then Sonny.
Yeah, well, firstly, I'll just say, Joseph there is exactly right. I've been meaning to say that over the last couple of weeks, but Joseph, I think, has really hit it on the head there with what Trump might be able to do with his presidential commission and might be doing sooner rather than later. Anyhow, the reason I really wanted to speak was to acknowledge Mick Harrison's great Zoom call last Saturday, and I think he's going to keep doing a really good job there, getting into the demolition of the two towers, 1 and 2, and giving people their fair time to explain their hypothesis. And I think it's very clear that he's actually exposing that. I think most of these hypotheses that just fall by the wayside are normally because they don't have a good idea of how they were actually detonated. And that's the case with basically every hypothesis I've seen, other than I think the IED explosives hypothesis, which I think Richard will speak to next week, and also my own, which has a the most detailed detonation sequence hypothesis specifically outlined. So I'm very encouraged by what he's doing, Mick, and also that hopefully we get Niels Harrit and Stephen Jones to come in there and talk about that evidence of theirs. And anxious to see what Richard has to say this week. I think he's focused more on the concrete rather than the steel relative to his positions in the past. So I'm excited for next week there too. Okay, I have to leave early tonight, so this will be my sign off as well. So everybody have a good week.
You too, Ross. Before I go to Richard, I should preface about. I got mute you because you're getting feedback. This past Saturday, I forgot to report on this too. Yesterday, Mick had Bob Greenyer. He is a low-level nuclear researcher, LL, and I forget what the acronym is. But anyways, Bob Greenyer, super intelligent guy. He seems to be a directed energy proponent, and took an hour and a half to explain at a very high level that I think we really do need people like Niels Harrit and Stephen Jones to see through if there was any word salad there, things that don't actually make sense in science. I'll admit most of that went over my head. Maybe some of you that were there did catch it all. But
it was really technical. It was super technical, a bunch of formulas. And
I did ask just a straightforward question for him about it's called the differential scanning calorimeter. With the Niels Harrit paper, they had a red gray chip. They put it in basically an oven. They put it in a closed system oven, heated this chip up, and when they opened it up, there was an iron microsphere. And he basically discounted that. And then I said, well, are you saying that this energy that you're talking about was the only mechanism by which the towers were brought down? And he was very particular on how he answered that question. And he said, no, what I'm saying is that this sample that I received from Patty Casaza, I'm saying is explained by this other technology. And I'm paraphrasing what he said, but I'm not ready to talk about anything else that may have been used that day. So he didn't explicitly discount other mechanisms, but he wanted to focus on his. I think I said that accurately.
Well, what he basically said was that he couldn't speak for the entirety of all the dust samples, but this particular dust sample that he had, its entire state could be explained by everything that had to do with direct energy weapons.
Ball lightning specifically, which I don't know how he was relating directed energy to ball lightning, but
yeah. So he just says in this particular sample, it all fit.
And no chain of custody.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, but we could get grilled on that. I'm just trying to be open thought here. A lot of the four samples that we got from that paper, one of them was a guy grabbed it off some railing and stuck it in his pocket. So I'm sure there's plenty of dust left. Unfortunately, nanothermite's going to lose its reactivity over time. So we're kind of losing the.
Yeah, I think that's what Sean was saying, like in the air ducts and stuff like that of the buildings.
Yes.
That you could actually still retrieve that.
Anyways, I'm digressing completely. Richard, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that, but you are going to be, as I understand it, next Saturday, going to give your perspective on that.
Well, I'm not going to refute anything. Well, most all of the things that Grenier said, because nobody understood most of what he said.
Right.
But he's clearly jumping to a conclusion that is not justified by his analysis, in my opinion, and that is that this is absolute proof that this and this only happened. I mean, he did make some very broad claims that refuting explosives.
Right.
So he says it doesn't produce the evidence that he's shown. What does produce the evidence that we have in that Herod has in the 7 samples that they independently collected was that it produces, as you mentioned, the microspheres. And the microspheres are 1-to-1. The chemical signature of those produced in the laboratory are identical to those found in the dust samples. So there's dramatic conclusions that we can draw from the Herod samples and the Jones samples, the R.J. Lee samples, and even the USGS samples to each other. So whether or not there was what he called a cold fusion process, which is very different than what Judy Woods described, by the way, completely different. Leaving tritium, which she didn't discuss, or poo-pooed. I can't remember because she poo-poos nuclear weapons, but he has a different type of nuclear weapon than we've heard about before. Not a nuclear process, a nuclear cold fusion process. So anyway, what I'm going to do on Saturday is provide the evidence that explosives and incendiaries that we have, that I've done, you all know what that is, how it goes, but I'm going to specifically tie it to the claims made by Judy Wood and show that, the DEW cannot possibly account for the evidence that I'm going to be focusing on. And there's about 12.5 pieces of evidence that they completely ignore, or that they completely, or that they outright deny with hand waving. So anyway, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, 10-4. Thank you. Ross, is your hand still up, or?
Jane raised her hand.
Oh, I didn't mean to have it up, but no, I didn't mean to do that, but I did want to make a quick comment. It's like another thing Greiner said was that potentially the detonation occurred from a Tibetan monk with a bowl of water.
Yeah. Basically saying it's not
that was kind of his. That's how he started his detonation explanations. Like, well, it's could be done in a variety of ways, and that was one of them. So he didn't have a very good specific answer on that, I didn't think.
I'll try to dumb this down from what I understood from my layman perspective, was that when asking how could there be this much energy to produce this directed energy beam, he sidesteps that by saying it's not an energy issue, that there's some hidden technology using sound resonance frequency that you can impart on a substance, and that within the atom, it's going to create these, what are they called? What's the donut shape called? Torus, moment, forces, and it unwinds them from the side, and it just becomes, explosive, if you will, at a low temperature. And the other, sorry, I got to mute you there. Somebody's feedback. The other thing was striking that he said is it would give off a very bright light, which, and I heard, and if Chuck's here, I don't see Chuck, but Chuck would say, how could nanothermite be it? The whole building would just glow, and he dismisses nanothermite off of that. But what Bob Greenyer said is when this happens, there would be this brilliant light. Well, then, for the same reason that Chuck discounted nanothermite, he would have to discount for this technology that Bob Greenyer was explaining, as I understand it. Anyways, it was, you'll hear. I'll make the video available because I did get permission to record it. You guys can see it was a lot of word salad at a very high level. Maybe some of you guys can understand that. I couldn't.
Was it dish galloping?
Gish gallop.
Gish gallop.
Gish gallop is, I'm learning this new logical fallacy where basically your opponent overwhelms you with information to the point that you can't possibly react to each and every statement being said, and they kind of win the argument that way. I don't know if it's that or not. But anyway, Sonny, go ahead.
Thanks. Before I get to my main piece of information, I just wanted to say, it's possible that more than one mechanism was used to bring particular towers down. Here's what I found a few days ago, which I found really shocking, actually. And I have posted that in a couple of comments, so a couple of you may have seen it already, but it is as follows, that Donald Trump's uncle, his paternal uncle, was named John G. Trump. He was an electrical engineer and professor at MIT who founded a company that manufactured particle accelerators. And he is the very person that the military called in when Nikola Tesla died to review his papers. I mean, it's like, what? And he determined that they had no military value, anyway, so then his nephew becomes president. And if you've seen any of Betsy Lee McGee's videos, I mean, she's really quite on target on many things, one of which is she's really taking Trump apart and showing all the foreshadowing since the 1950s. But a second piece of this is Vannevar Bush, who was also an electrical engineer, and John G. Trump worked under him. And Vannevar Bush was very high. I can't even begin to recount all these people's laurels and accomplishments and papers and so forth in the field. I'll call it electrical engineering, but it's really much broader than that. But Vannevar Bush was related to the Bush family, and it's not a far or remote connection. It is that I probably won't recite it correctly, but he, I figured that it was second cousin once removed. I think that's what I came up with. Second cousin once removed. That's not very far. It's like he was the grandfather of I can't even, I didn't remember that. But anyway, they're very close. So right there, we've got really close connections to a direct energy thing that happened. And it's evil. I as a lawyer, and by the way, I have a bachelor's in physics from Cornell, but I'm not up on Greenier's stuff either. But people who discount so-called conspiracies don't seem to appreciate that that's an absolutely bona fide principle in the law. I mean, it just means two people get together and make an agreement to do something illegal. There are conspiracies everywhere. And so anyway, that's really the main thing I have to impart. Look into John G. Trump too. Well, I mean, these guys, he had Tesla stuff that have been really kept from the public. I mean, I can't recite the whole history there, but it's, Tesla was really treated shabbily. He had the most amazing inventions. He's the one who came up with AC current, for instance.
Yeah.
And the evil genius back in his time, not even a genius, is Thomas Edison, who did things to undermine him and discredit him. And Tesla, he really was onto free energy, meaning making energy for the world. So I'm trying to bone up on Tesla. I mean, this is the sort of thing that you don't get taught, certainly not as an undergraduate, but, if you take a physics course, they don't teach you about that. And so I think Tesla is, I don't like seeing Musk appropriate his name for his stupid automobile, by the way. Anyway, so that's my main thing. And I think it's huge that you've got two main guys who've been in charge of the country who, not just two, three, if you include both Bushes.
Yeah. Thank you.
And they have this direct connection to direct energy.
I want to add, she brought up this video for Bush. I don't know if any of you read this as I was scrolling through it. He was early administration of the Manhattan Project, and he joined the Department of Electrical Engineering at MIT in 1919. He founded the company that became Raytheon in 1922.
Wow.
Bush became vice president of MIT and dean of MIT School of Engineering in 1932 and president of the Carnegie Institute of Washington in 1938. So, boy, oh boy, he's got quite the reputation. Anyways, thank you, Sonny, for that. More rabbit holes down.
Yeah, big rabbit
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you. Let's go to Jane.
Yeah, just briefly back to Bob Runier's presentation. With all of his what feels like authentic passion about his analysis of the more esoteric aspects of the physics of the 9/11 event, I felt he really was sort of oblivious to trying to connect how he would counter his analysis to explain or what the difference was between what his cold fusion, if that's the way you want to, encapsulate his point of view, to directed energy weapons. Anyway, he didn't really, to my mind, albeit my inability to grasp most of his technical, analysis, I have to admit that. But I think he could have done more to address how it related to what we observed,
Yes.
just from all the videos, including, the jettison of steel into, I don't know, 300 feet or more. So I just felt he was too encapsulated in his pet theory of how there could have been an alternative explanation, but didn't really do enough to address the more obvious, things that countered the official narrative. Anyway, that's my complaint, and nobody's perfect, but
Yeah.
I mean, he definitely took it at a high level. He said, I think 2 weeks ago, that it took him 9 years to explain this to his coworkers, and they still don't get it.
Yeah.
And that's alarming. You can't explain something in 5 minutes, then to somebody simply, then I don't know what's happening.
Yeah. That was my big complaint. I mean, he came in knowing absolutely that nobody would understand what he was presenting.
Yeah.
No, coming in,
Yeah.
he would be subjected to all of this analysis that nobody could make any sense of. So knowing that,
You don't understand momentum toroidal.
I showed up on it last
Yeah.
night.
In comedy, we call it reading the room before you present.
Yeah.
Then your jokes are funny, but if you read the room wrong, so maybe he just had Grok or Chat GPT write it for him.
In all fairness, he was very.
I'm being silly. I just wanted to say that you read the room before you present.
That expression, reading the room, that's very good. I like that. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just saying, if you know your material well, you are able to translate it down to the level that it needs to be so that people can understand.
Hopefully.
I mean, if you went into a class of first graders and had to explain it, I'm pretty sure he would have found a different way to do it. And all you had to do is adapt it to people who maybe are at the high school level, and it would have been good.
Yeah.
Well, I've had to present it to juries for 60 years, and it's the same as second graders.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Joseph. Go to Ross and then Jane Clark.
Yes, so I'll say it before I get in the future criticized for saying it. And that is, I actually understood what he was talking about, Greiner. It's very much related to Tesla's research. And I understood it. What I also understood about that was it would be one hell of a hard job to try and apply that to the surgical demolition we saw on the day. And but he had some evidence there that maybe is irrefutable if the chain of custody is okay. But that also belies and reinforces the point that I think that it was a real play day for the elites, 9/11, and it was long in the planning. And they used it to experiment on a lot of technologies alongside of what really happened, to bring the towers down, which was very well understood, we must admit. Whatever they did to bring those towers down, they understood that well. And there was a lot of stuff that went on the side experimentally, I think, at different times in order to muddy the water and also for them to learn on how it affects people psychologically, how it worked. So I wouldn't completely discount his process there, the cold fusion, but I would say, it had nothing to do with the demolition of the buildings. It was maybe present on the day, but certainly not in the surgical demolition of the buildings.
I appreciate that not only, I didn't mean to say only. I appreciate that, period. It's kind of like when we talk about the planes and the hijackers. If they planned this, that the buildings had to come down, they didn't rely on some hijackers possibly getting on the planes and possibly making it to the buildings. They had multiple mechanisms in place. I definitely think Richard's evidence from 9/11 explosive evidence experts speak out. I think that's irrefutable, that explosives were used. You don't get lattices, as Joseph Princiota showed, wintergreen, 50 to 70 miles an hour ejected. Some directed technology is not going to do that. It's not some spring effect. There was something with pressure volume work pushing these materials at speed instantly off the building, but it's not discounting that there were other technologies involved. Anyways, Jane Clark, thank you for being.
It wasn't fire.
Yeah, it wasn't fire. Thank you for being patient, Jane. Whenever you get a chance, she's looking for the unmute button. Thank you, Ross.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because I've had to use my earphone because I can't do it otherwise. I have it somewhere in my material, and I've got so much material that has to do with a conference that was in the 90s with painting on sol gel. It was out of Lawrence Livermore Labs, National Labs, and they had developed this procedure, which I assume the military knew about anyway, because they're, they have certain units that know those things. But you can paint RDX in a sol gel onto where you need to put it. And as soon as I find that conference, it was a pretty big conference they had with it. And if they have the conference ready, that means they've already got the stuff going, and it gives you the information on it. But I'll find it and send it to you, because it's not, I think they were focusing on the elevator shafts when they were preparing this thing. I said, well, how'd they do that? So I think they actually had a sol gel procedure where they painted on the RDX, which is not as loud as regular explosives, and they put it in the elevator shafts. That's just my guess. And I don't discount other procedures that they used on blowing these buildings up just to confuse everybody. Sure, let's throw something else in there. Let's do, I know for a fact the soldiers over in, when I was in the Jordan, which is about 7 times, I talked to these guys that were working for NBC, and they said, I don't know what kind of stuff you've got as far as equipment, but I saw a man melted in his car, and there was nothing wrong with his clothes or his car, but his body was gone. And another guy said, well, you have a sound machine that goes through a cement wall and it melts people too. So we don't know what they've got, and they're not going to tell us what they got. So it wouldn't surprise me if we got a combination of things. But I think the RDX, which is really effective, is in a sol gel material. I put some information in the chat on that, but I do have a conference that I can send to you that I found a long time ago that indicates Lawrence Livermore Labs is working with the military, and they have this paint on RDX material in the sol gel material. And there's only, I looked it up at the time, there's only maybe 1 or 2 or 3 places in the country that was doing this, that had the equipment to do it, because it's dangerous. And they did have it at the Lawrence Livermore National Labs, but there was 1 or 2 other places too. But as soon as I find that, I'll send it to you. Okay?
Thank you. That's wild.
Yeah.
I was
Thank you.
Nope. Thank you, Jane. Oh, breaking up a little there.
Okay.
You good?
Yes.
All right.
I'm good. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I would love to see that if you send it to us. I was in the Navy for a little bit, and I heard a little bit about this Philadelphia experiment. If any of you heard about that, that's wild. That'll blow your mind as well, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now. Thanks again, Jane. Let's go to Magnus.
Oh, your system is overheating, Gene, but are you able to run a few short videos, or just try them, or just cut them if you can't?
Yeah, we'll give it a try, see what happens.
Oh, thank you.
It's you have North Tower warning came from cops. John Miller
Yeah,
said.
yeah, it's a longer version that I showed Barbara for a few meetings ago. It's a longer version I haven't seen before.
Okay, here we go.
Thank you.
When you look at the television pictures of the Trade Center collapsed upon itself, these are buildings 110 stories high, and where thousands and thousands and thousands of people work. And I know on occasion we can run the images of it to the point of offensiveness. I hope we're not there, but this is what it looked like when one of the trade towers just appeared to either peel away or collapse on itself, but from top to bottom, 110 stories to the bottom. First one, the southern tower, Tower 1 or Tower 2, it doesn't matter what, just one tower and then the other, and then the other tower sometime later, which John Miller said the cops picked up very quickly. It was looking weak and bending or leaning in one particular direction, indicating that when those two aircraft, one hitting one tower, the other hitting another, had gone straight into those towers with such force that even at the midpoint of the building, or in that case 2/3 up, something had happened to so totally weaken the infrastructure that this was like peeling a banana, except that it was full of people.
Eugene.
All right, there's that one. Next one, 24 minutes and 50 seconds, Pentagon.
Just forget about them. Craig McKee can just look into
Okay.
that one. Run the last video I have. Let's see what that is actually. Basement.
White plane? No, basement.
Oh, yeah, basement. Yeah, but have you seen this before?
I have not seen this.
Tom, thanks very much. We'll talk to you a little bit on now to one of the eeriest moments amid the carnage of 9/11. A mysterious plane was seen flying right over the president's residence. Even some CNN staffers saw it. To this day, it has never been officially explained. Tonight, Chief National Correspondent John King has new details about this great 9/11 mystery.
Today, 6 years after 9/11, the mystery endures about just what happened in the skies over the White House that terrible day. A plane flew right over it, but why and what was it? For conspiracy theorists, the image is a gold mine. Go back to that morning. Suddenly, an orderly evacuation of the White House turned hectic.
All right, I'll save that for another time.
Yeah, thank you.
Plane.
Basement is more important now.
All right, let's get to the basement. Here we go. It's loading. Come on. 23 seconds. Here we go.
When the second tower of the Trade Center collapsed, 8 minutes later, another explosion.
Come on, computer.
At the World Trade Center. Apparently, bombs may have been placed at the base of those buildings. The mayor only saying he did not believe those blasts after the initial impact had anything to do with a gas leak. That was an initial report from the mayor. It has been, again, just over 7 hours since this began.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
That would confirm William Rodriguez. Thank you, Magnus. Good to see you, sir. Let's go to Jetty in Scotland.
Hello, yeah, I wanted to make a point about the presentation that we saw yesterday, right?
Yep.
The guys got it down to the molecular level, the method of everything. It's down to here's what the molecules do, here's what everything do. I was waiting, like everybody else, for over an hour for a bit that I could understand and latch onto, right? And the first bit that I latched onto that I could understand is where he said the only type of steel that was used in the towers that had any copper in it was this type that they used on the bottom of the floor trusses. And it's like, straight away, it's like, no, it isn't. If you go into the NIST reports and type in copper, you can see that A36 steel, all of the shapes had copper in it, all of the other types. And I mean, I asked him to correct it, he's not going to, but it's something that is so, when you have to just go on to a report and type in copper and look at what comes up when it's got anything to do with the building, it's like, well, how can you pay so much attention to this supposed method of bringing the buildings down and yet pay so little attention to the buildings themselves? It kind of goes on to what Jane was saying, where how do you relate this to the buildings? And I don't think he's really interested in it. I think it's an area of research and people have went, you know what? we can go out here and lecture people about this cold fusion or whatever that we were into anyway and apply it to the tower. So it's, you go into a talk like that and you want a drink, so you want somebody to turn a tap on, and these guys inevitably they turn on a fire hydrant and you can't get a drink from it. It just overwhelms you, and it's like, right, okay, this is all over my head, you know it's over my head, and if you knew what you were talking about, you would be able to make your point simply. I kind of relate it to music that way. I mean, when somebody's talking to me about music, I know when they're a page ahead of me in the book. It's like, right, okay, you're making this up as you're going along. But then how do you relate it to the towers? But to say, his big statement for me was, this is the only type of steel in the towers that had any copper added to it. And it was just like, nah, that's ridiculous. The guy's meant to be a metallurgist, isn't he? So it's a no from me.
Thank you, Jetty. Table's open. Anybody else? New 9/11 news? Any strategy things? I got something at the end, but we're getting almost there. 6:30. I definitely want to be going around the rooms. Oh, Richard, go ahead. Sorry.
Appreciate that. A response to Craig's suggestion that a 500-mile-an-hour plane would be, its momentum would be interrupted by hitting a light pole or a few of them, doesn't make sense to me. You've got a huge mass traveling an incredible speed, and for the distance from the light poles to the Pentagon, it's not going to do anything to that momentum. And that's intuitive and that's obvious to me. I'm not saying a plane hit the Pentagon. I'm just saying that that logic that was presented earlier today doesn't work.
Could I comment on that?
No, you can't comment.
That's what I get for being polite. Here's my comment, damn it. No, I don't think I said that, Richard. If I did imply that I thought it should have interrupted the momentum, then I misspoke. I don't think that's what I said. I think what I said was, or what I meant to convey was that a plane going at that speed, encountering not one but 5 light poles weighing 250 pounds each, is going to suffer damage, and possibly be. I think what I said was about being thrown off course. Now, I meant just that its flight would be affected. That doesn't mean that it would slow down. It would just, if you rip the wings off a plane, it's gonna alter its flight. And I'm just saying that there should have been sufficient damage should have been done from those poles, that would have, first of all, done serious damage to the plane. It should have done serious damage to the cab if a cab actually was impaled by a pole flying through the air like that. And I would argue that it would affect the flight itself also. But the third of those things is not even the most important thing to me. I think the fact that there's no noticeable effect on the plane indicates to me, it supports the idea that the plane actually never hit any light poles at all. Does that make sense?
No, but I think we'll just agree to disagree on that. We don't have to take it deeper.
Could
I just ask what part you disagree with?
Real quick, Mike Figa made a comment I thought was relevant. Where'd it go? He said it wouldn't affect the momentum hitting the light poles. It would affect the aerodynamics. Not that it has further to go.
That's what I think I'm trying to say.
Oh, that was Mike. Sorry, Mike.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I'm saying that it would slow the plane down. I think what I'm saying is, if the damage you would expect to be done to those wings, first of all, you'd have an explosion probably because there's fuel in the wings. But I would think it would affect the path. But even that's, like I said, that's a secondary point. The point is there was no damage to the plane that was observed at all. And
I don't know why you're saying that. There's no plane that was observed, so why would you see the damage?
well, that's my point. There was no plane on that flight path,
There
so
was no
therefore there was
damage.
no.
There's not enough time, if there was a plane, to see whether there was damage or not. So I don't understand why you're saying that.
Well, I think if the wing got ripped off, or if the fuel tank exploded, I think you would have a chance at seeing that. It's interesting though that people that push the plane impact thing will argue that a 1 foot high concrete retaining wall that just goes above the lawn was clipped by the left wing of the left engine of the plane, and that is supposed to be visible at 500 miles an hour, but an exploding fuel tank wouldn't be. So I would question that it would be that hard to see the damage.
Damage on an object that's there and stays there. The other is an object that no longer exists, or allegedly no longer. I don't know. Boy, that's getting deep and muddy. Well, thank you. I'm going to move on if that's all right.
Yeah, you can move on, Gene. But I mean, I'll just finish with it. We've done a lot of talking about directed energy weapons, and we've gotten very deeply into the weeds of this today. And it's that seems to be of interest to everybody. But this is too much into the weeds. I don't know.
No, it was just that Bob Greenyer spoke yesterday, and that was a big thing to talk about. And now it's 6:30, and I kind of want to go around the room, so that's opening up a can of worms. If you don't mind, we could talk about it next week if you'd like.
I'm easy anytime.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Sue Serpa, you will be the first hand to go around the room. How about that? No. Yeah, I guess we could do that. Yeah, let's do that.
So our Boston 9/11 Truth Committee took a look at our finances, got a quote from the aerial banner, and we're going to fly it again this year.
Nice.
Yes. Fitchburg to Boston, which is, I don't know, about 70 miles. And I'm putting the link in the chat from when we did it 5 years ago. I think we're going to run the same message.
Nice.
Do you want to bring that up?
Yep. Trying. Usually I'm pretty quick at that, but today the computer is being set.
View of the, iconic view of the real towers through Washington Square Park.
Is this it?
No.
That was the wrong clip.
Oh.
I think let me try Boston. See if I can do it. Boston 9/11 banner. I think I got it in Facebook somewhere. Yeah. Where's yours? There's yours. This is what they did. I imagine you're probably going to go with a different message.
Well, we're still talking about that, but first we're securing the date. It might be the same message, though. I don't see anything wrong with that.
Yep. Nice. Very noticeable. I think it's a great idea. So.
Yeah, and it'll send people to our website.
Very good. Thank you, Sue. Anything else for the group?
Nope. I've got the chicken wire around my garden replaced by stolen vegetables. Rascally rabbits. I'm ready for them now.
We're gonna have to start considering that too. We got a whole bunch of bushes.
Yep. Oops, sorry, you're not. There we go.
Oh, yeah, we got a whole bunch of bushes that we're gonna have to safeguard now, and rabbits.
Yeah, somebody told us if you have blueberry bush, as soon as the blueberries come out, rabbits love blueberries. But anyway.
Those bushes are always a problem in 9/11 and in gardening.
Nice.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm here all week.
All right. Mike Cook, anything for the group? You're muted.
I had a really good dinner the other night. I stopped in at the steakhouse, and I was sitting at the bar like I always do. It was next to a Army veteran. He said he was in the first Iraq War, and I gave him my card, and he put it away. Richard Gage inspired
nice.
Architects, engineers. collapse or explosion, and he knew about Building 7 and a whole bunch of other stuff. We were having a great conversation, so that was cool. That was reassuring.
Nice. And it's this is the activism we're talking about. If you just get a small opportunity, take the opportunity. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. Sweet Jane Milligan. Sorry. Anything for the group, Jane?
Not now. I'm good. Thank you.
Thanks, Jane. Deb Lee in New York. Anything for the group? She's getting there.
She may have stepped away.
Yeah, she is.
Hello. Just looking forward to the conference, and if I can help out here, I really want to go around to the firehouses, do some legwork, and I have my neighbor who's a captain now at the firehouse who doesn't believe the official story, but he's not willing to come out. But he's a resource of mine. I just have to play gently with him. But he's my neighbor. We're on a board of directors together in my building where I live. He has some ideas of what is most effective to hand out, which are very slick things. And anyway, we'll brainstorm on what is best for that. He can get me a map of all the firehouses.
Amazing.
That's
I could do
great.
that. I could do that myself, but he can help. He's willing to help kind of behind the scenes, but he's just one of those people that doesn't want to be visible, but he's willing to be a help.
I'll take it.
I have another idea that we might be able to brainstorm and work on during the event. September 11th, firefighters are going to be descending on the...
Oh, Roel said that's a terrible idea.
Okay, well, Raoul said it's a terrible idea, but Glenn Corbett, NYPD instructor extraordinaire for the firefighters, well known. He went to school at
John Jay
College, and on September 11th, they're having a memorial event for the firefighters, which is why we weren't able to have that venue. But if there's a way, and Glenn Corbett. Jeez, I keep getting that mixed with James Corbett. Glenn Corbett said that his biggest disappointment in the early years was seeing all these people in black shirts, 9/11 was an inside job, screaming at the memorial poles. He said it was so offensive to the people and to me. If there was another way to more respectfully, you're talking about these flyers that might be slick, if we stood outside and somehow respectfully presented something to the guys, obviously Raoul didn't appreciate it, but maybe we can brainstorm something respectful that we could do. So I'll talk to you about that more later, Deb. Thank you.
Yeah. And Deb, out of those people that I reached out to in New York, the most common feedback I got was just get me some flyers and we'll be happy to hand them out. So I definitely want to discuss that this Thursday on the call. See if we can brainstorm something that's easy to put together and put out and easy for you guys to print at your end also.
Yeah. I know a good place to make the color copies. I found the cheapest place in the city.
That's nice.
I think.
Nice.
Okay, so maybe we can share that with others then when we send it out.
Thank you. Joseph, anything for the group?
Well, you're all thinking people, and twice a day, every day, I conduct a thinking about thinking. So if you want to be thinking about 9/11 and come and talk with the people who show up on my Zoom call, you're welcome. I've been active, well, Richard knows, I joined his group when he had 34 architects on his list. And I've been promoting the different ideas about 9/11 because I am sort of connected to it. Mm-hmm. And what I have got to tell you, be very careful with the firemen because they are a brotherhood.
Yes.
And there are those who do not believe it was an inside job, and there are those who believe it was an inside job, and they have agreed generally. I can tell you the fire department here in Alaska, because this is where I learned it. They don't talk about it. because they have to be a brotherhood. And it is so divisive that when you do your rightful and considerate informing of them, it's deeply offensive to some fire. Read the room.
Yeah.
For God's sakes, man, when you're going to firefighters, read the room.
Aye.
And come and join me. I think I put it in chat. You've got the links if anybody wants to show up twice a day, every day. Over 4,000 Zoom presentations now. I've got a philosophy teacher from the university here who's a regular. I've got a fisherman in Norway. I've got different folks who come to express themselves, and I would love to continue these conversations with anyone who wants to show up. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Joseph, can you put the link to your Zooms in the chat?
I did already.
Okay, look for that.
I'll do it again right now.
Thank you, Joseph. One of my favorite quotes from Joseph, quote, "To identify the perpetrator, first know the crime." And I think it's still a good email address for you, josephprinciota@gmail.com.
That's my email.
Right on. So if anybody needs to get a hold of him, that's how you do it. Thank you, Joseph. Appreciate you.
Can I go next? Sorry.
Has everybody got the chat? Did that work?
Yep, it's in the chat. Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you.
Richard?
Can I go next?
After
to
Richard.
bring up, one can easily calculate the time that it took the plane to go from the light pole to the Pentagon, because one knows the distance between those two objects, and one knows the alleged speed of the plane. So I think it would be an important calculation that Gene could do, but I probably can't. And I'll bet you it's about 0.02 seconds.
Yeah.
Between the time that that plane hit the pole and it hit the Pentagon, and nothing is going to be visible or happening, even if the wing is badly damaged, between those two points. Second point, Brett Weinstein is now all but booked for a Turning the Tide conference in 25th anniversary in New York City.
Nice.
So we're very excited to have him. Now, with him and Jimmy Dore on board, we are very likely to get Tucker to come too. So keep that in your prayers.
Nice.
That will put us over the top.
Thank you, Richard. Excellent. And you are working through the process of Crime Scene to Courtroom, episode 6?
Yep, it's happening, and it might actually be 2 weeks.
Excellent. Thank you. Well,
Yeah, we're going to revise it later or review it.
Yes.
What you
Oh,
sent.
good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys. And Section 4 is coming out to the reviewers pretty soon.
Thank you. Oops, I'm sorry, Al. Before I go to Al, who yelled, "Can I go next?"
Mike Figa.
Sorry, yeah, that was me. Yeah, I have to get in the shower and go somewhere, so I'm trying to talk and get off. What was I going to say? Richard, could you please call me after the call, Richard Gage? But also anyone else who has access possibly to Massey. I don't. Did you speak about Massey's speaking to the USS Liberty tomorrow? I don't know if you guys mentioned.
Yeah, we covered that. Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Okay. Sorry, I was multitasking.
All good.
Yeah, no, I have confidential information from a woman that is going to go directly to him, but I just messaged his office. So that's it. I'll say that. So please reach out to me. Maybe reach out to Gene or Sandra, and they can come through them to me if you have someone who has contact. The woman who has the information actually has been in touch with the office at times, but it's not very reliable. So that's it. And I appreciate the call, Richard. Thank you.
Right on, Mike. Thank you. Back to Al. Anything for the group, Al? Oh, people are moving.
I came in late. I don't know if Sue had talked about Richard Kreshnick that came on.
Yep.
But I thought he did a great job of following the geopolitical history of 9/11, starting from the creation of Israel and where all of the combined interests were And to this date, the relevance of 9/11, I'm not sure what was discussed, but I don't want to repeat what has already been spoken about. But anyway, I thought it was very interesting, and he's a very articulate guy and well educated. So I know you two weren't there. I'm not sure if you had a chance to see the replay of it, but it's
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, Thursday was a rough day for us.
Yep.
A rough day.
Well, we have the anniversary planning call on Thursdays, every Thursday. It's supposed to be an hour. Sometimes it goes 2 or 2.5, or I don't think we've done quite 3 yet, but it's they're very draining calls, and we hadn't had supper by the time we got off and we had to leave.
Okay, well, there's always next week.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you. Yep.
I got something to share at the end that you might like. Where am I at? Craig, did I get you?
Nope.
Okay, you're up.
Okay. I will do you a big favor and save my further comments on
Thank you.
on what
You
Rich said for next week. Because I wouldn't want to be rushed or anything, so I'll save it for next week. But I'm interested in the fact that Richard is showing more interest in the Pentagon recently. I find that interesting and potentially good. But and I will say this: I'm always delighted to be challenged on anything I say about the Pentagon, and I'm very much looking forward to some examples of Richard challenging David Chandler's stance on the Pentagon with some hard specifics. So I'm going to be looking forward to that, because I'm sure there's lots there that you could sink your teeth into if you were interested in doing that.
Thank you, Greg. Appreciate that.
Sure.
I have challenged him, by the way. I don't remember what on right now.
Yeah. Well, let's do it publicly.
Thanks, Craig.
Okay.
Magnus, Norway, anything for the group?
No, just thank you to everyone, and keep up the great work, and support the Lawyers Committee and Richard Gage and everyone here that has a great project going on. And thank you, Jean and Sandra.
Thank you, Magnus. Appreciate you. Lou, you put your hand up. You'll go next.
Yes, sir. Thank you. As Craig knows, because of something that David Chandler had said, I met him, at the Turning the Tide conference last year, shook his hand. As I listened to him speak, I became more convinced that he was wrong. And so I've more than implied. I've actually accused him of being a plant or somebody, what do you call it? A limited hangout, at least, if not a actual infiltrator. Well, today I heard some previous speaker say that, he was the one that was a high school teacher that confronted the NIST people that we know are liars. We know they're traitors. We know that it's part of the deep state shadow government. So I'd like to know more, because I don't really recall exactly the points that I thought impugned David Chandler. But boy, if he did that good, it's not like he does one good thing and not another, because mixed messages are such an issue, in our whole culture. A bold-faced lie is easily recognized. It's the clever mixed messages that are put out there by the nefarious forces of murder and imperialistic control, where the ends justify the means. And there's a great book called the Moses, last name Moses, was a New Deal guy in New York, a developer. He developed the Long Island expressways and the parks there. And he has a great line. He says, if the ends don't justify the means, what does? It's a valid point, you know. So if the means involve murder, you know, you look at the example in history. If the Nazi generals had assassinated, bombed Hitler and killed him, then certainly history would have been different. Rommel, of course, the Desert Fox, was one of those generals who was, killed after trying to kill Hitler, and the association with Trump and Hitler, anyway. Thanks for listening to me, and thanks for having this really good conference today.
Thank you, Lou. Brian Good, anything for the group? Not hearing anything. I'll look for your mic to come off. Jerry, anything?
Yeah, on the Pentagon, really quickly, he says, opening a can of worms. I was quite convinced by the radar data when it came out that it's like, right, okay, this is fairly good. And I actually thought that at the last anniversary thing, that the side that David Chandler was on presented the evidence better. But in fairness to Craig, the evidence that they presented has made me look at the Pentagon again and say, right, okay, these guys have got a point. And I think, and I've come round to looking into it deeper because of both sides of that debate. And I'm going to say I'll come down on the side of Craig so far.
Wow.
But,
Thank you, Craig.
Yeah, I do, and that's testament to your perseverance. You certainly your tenacity, definitely. But I think the point I'm trying to make there is that I was informed by both sides. And one tip I would say is I thought the other side presented better last year. That it was more, it was a bit more slick, but they don't really have the evidence in their favour. But yeah, you made me think again on that one, Craig. So respect for that.
Thank you, Jerry.
Jerry. So Joshua, anything for the group?
I'm looking forward to Tuesday night to hear John Kiriakou, and I'm also looking forward to Congressman Massey talk about the USS Liberty attack at the House.
Yep. Thank you, Josh.
So that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew, do you have a mic? Because you're off on mute. Andrew, if anything for the group, if you're there.
I don't think he ever showed us mute.
We'll go to Sean then. Sean, anything for the group?
Yeah, I missed Saturday's Mick thing there on Directed Energy. When will you guys post on that?
I'm going to try to post it. You have to forgive me. I had a ear infection and I had to get antibiotics, and my mood was totally crushed the last 2 weeks. I just got the 2 last 9/11 War Rooms up yesterday. I got to get Mick's call and this up, and hopefully I'll get that up in the next 2 days here.
All right, good. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
And
Sean,
do you still live in New York City area?
No, I'm upstate New York.
Close enough. You were on my list of people that I emailed to see if you wanted to help promote the event, and the email to you bounced. So I just you know where to find me. So if you're interested, let me know. Second quick comment. I am one of the things we're trying to prepare for the event is a video tribute to those people in the 9/11 Truth Movement, advocates, activists who have passed since. We have a list right now, so we're at like 47 people, so it's a lot of work. I need to find the birthdays, days of passing, and bios in each case. My issue is that I'm having trouble with some of the birthdays. And so I just want to throw it very quickly out there. If anybody knows, so those who are missing both dates, birthday and date of passing, are Barton Bruce, Rob Balsamo, and Craig, you had mentioned Ted Nuga and Elise Nuga, right?
Muga, yeah.
Muga,
With an
sorry.
N, yeah.
So that I have nothing on them. If anybody has those, and then I need the date of births, if anybody has them, for Ellen Mariani, Frank Legg, Graham McQueen, out of all people, Michael Collins Piper, Rob McCoy, and Shelton Langford. So if anybody has information, I've done my Google legwork, my Wikipedia, my whatever I could find, and I'm hitting brick walls. So
if anybody could help her, an easy email to remember to contact her and I, contact@911warroom.com. That'll email both of us. Contact, and I'll put that in the chat. Contact@911warroom.com.
And one last program note. Next week, we are having a regular 9/11 War Room. That would be June the 14th. The week after that, if we're having a War Room, it'll be live from Austria.
Austria!
So we're going to be in the Magnus time zone. We're going to be arriving on the Saturday, and I don't know what's going to be possible or not possible.
We'll try it live from my phone, 9/11 War Room in Vienna.
It might just be that.
We'll try it. We'll see what happens.
So we'll keep you posted. It doesn't change anything for the war. We're not going to make you guys jump on it.
It'll be great because it might be late there, but we'll feel like.
Oh yeah.
If jet lag doesn't crash in on us. But
yeah.
anyway.
So anyways, not looking forward to the flying part of it.
No spec and Z.
Do you have Michael Laurie on your list?
I do.
And does any?
Yes.
You do have him. Okay,
Yes.
good. That was passed along to me too. Okay.
I think I got everybody in the room. If not, speak now. Sandra, you're good.
That was it.
I have 3 things real quick just to wrap up. One little activism thing that I do, just little things that take barely any effort. We get a lot of junk mail, and I got one from a congressman asking me to send him some information. So I just take it, place stamp here. Hey, for the cost of a stamp, sending him, and what I'll do is I'll just grab a flyer, and I'll grab a little, a sheet, fold that all up, and even a business card. Fold that all up, put that in there, and for the cost of a stamp, he gets surprised. Or the Department of Veteran Affairs sends me something, and I cut out all my important information, but I put it so they can read their stuff, and they get it. And AAA sending me some junk mail. Well, no postage necessary if mailed in the USA. The same with the VA. They're going to get some stuff. And the plan administrator for some insurance activation company, also no postage necessary. When you get something that says no postage necessary, hey, that's a free invitation to send a flyer to them about 9/11. Very little effort, and they open it up. Even if they throw it in the trash, you made an impact for
quiz.
Yeah, something, anything. Stick it in there. The 2 other things I wanted to share, I had fun with AI and asking it, seeing where AI is going and whatnot. Will it be able to do finite element analysis? And my dream of someday having like a simulator for doing some type of finite element analysis. It said we're actually 2 to 5 years. This project could be completed. And it even broke it down by phases into 8 phases of how long until you could actually get deployment done. And asked it to create some screenshots, just, forecasting what something might look. Looks a little gimmicky, a little cheesy, but you could actually get the plans, allow people to put whatever devices wherever and try to emulate what happened, what we saw on that exact day, and feed it back into a system and try to find out what's realistic using real world physics and finite element analysis on how this could happen. So it says we're there now. We have the technology to do it, just 2 to 5 years if somebody actually applied themselves. So that's that. And the last thing that I wanted to share.
We did that in Alaska on Building 7 already.
Yes, they do. And I actually put that in here and said, using that also, the UAF, could we get that to recreate it for the towers? And yeah. But you're right, Joseph. We have all that. The UAF, we should be screaming that from the mountaintops, that we do have a model that didn't jeopardize public safety, and it said that fire couldn't do it. So thank you. The last thing on that Roger Waters video that was released, if you get videos, if you're savvy at all on your phone or whatnot, and you're into activism, you can clip that up, make your own clips and put it back out, add some music to it, and it gets views. One video I did of Building 7 falling in the last 2 weeks, it got 50,000 views. And I made this one just a clip of that one that I showed you, and this is what I came up with. and it's doing relatively okay, but
personal persons unknown organized the demolition of Trade Center 1 and 2 and Building 7. We have to stop them. I believe that they destroyed the Twin Towers. Demolition, they demolished them. The evidence is all there.
that's all it takes. Take a clip of something, put some music to it, and put it back out, whether it's in mail or something digitally, just do something. So,
Song by Pink.
oh yeah, if you want. Yep. Oh, I'm sorry.
And if you want to use a song by Pink Floyd, you're going to have to jump through a few hoops so that you don't get like an X.
I did. I put the whole wall on there, and it whatever recording rights spiked it. So I put in the instrumental version so that it didn't get flagged, and it's been doing so good. It's pretty good. So
Is there a particular reason you chose one 9/11 organization to kind of advertise in that?
well, it was because it was already created, and I was utilizing a video that was already put out. So it depends on how much effort you want to get. That took me probably an hour to put together because I'm ridiculous at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Ridiculous.
Ridiculous. But anyways, do something, anything, activism, raise awareness, keep doing what we're doing. So thank you guys for being here. Appreciate all the comments. Have a good week, and we'll see you next time.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.